The central issue is complete, absolute freedom of man. First, psychologically, inwardly, then outwardly. There is no division between the outer and the inner. But for clarity's sake, one must first understand this inward freedom, whether it is at all possible, living in this world, not retiring to some monastery, which is quite neurotic, or secluding oneself in an isolated tower of one's own imagination. Living in this world, that's the only challenge one has. Freedom. Because if there is no freedom inwardly, then the chaos begins. Then there are innumerable psychological conflicts, oppositions, indecisions, lack of clarity, lack of deep insight. And which expresses itself, obviously, outwardly, belonging to no political party, either communism or capitalism, belonging to no religion, accepting no authority outwardly, in the sense one has to follow the laws of the country and all the rest of it, keeping to the right or the left when you're driving. But the decision to obey, to comply, comes from inward freedom. The acceptance of the outer demands, outer law, is the acceptance of an inward freedom. I think that is the central issue. And there is no other issue. Because we human beings are not free. We are heavily conditioned. By the culture we live in, by the social environment, by religions, by vested interests of the army or the politicians, or the ideological commitment to which we have given ourselves over. So we are, as human beings, conditioned. And being conditioned, we are aggressive. This aggression, the sociologists, the anthropologists, and the economists are explaining. They have two theories. Either you have inherited it from the animal, this sense of aggressive spirit, or the society which each human being has built impels you, compels you, forces you to be aggressive. The fact is more important than the theory, whether it is derived from the animal or the society makes you. That is irrelevant. We are aggressive. We are brutal. We are incapable of looking at another's suggestion, view, thought, examination impartially. And being conditioned, life becomes fragmentary. Life, which is the everyday living, the everyday thought, the aspirations, the sense of self-improvement, which is such an ugly thing. That's all fragmentary. That is, this conditioning makes each one of us a self-centered human being, fighting for himself, for his family, for his nation, for his beliefs. And so, ideological differences arise. You are a Christian and another is a Muslim, a Hindu. You two may tolerate each other, but basically, inwardly, there is a deep division. Contempt, one feels superior and all the rest of that. So, this conditioning makes us not only self-centered, but also in that very self-centeredness, there is a process of isolation, a separation, a division, which makes us utterly impossible to cooperate. And is it possible to be free? Is it possible, as we are conditioned, shaped by every influence, by propaganda, by the books we read, the cinemas, the radios, the magazines, all impinging on the mind, shaping it? Is it possible to live in this world completely free, not only consciously, but at the very roots of our being? That, it seems to me, is the challenge, is the only issue. Because if one is not free, there is no love. There is jealousy, anxiety, fear, domination, the pursuit of pleasure, sexually or otherwise. If one is not free, you cannot see clearly. If there is no freedom, there is no sense of beauty. This is not mere arguments supporting a theory that man must be free, which again becomes an ideology. Which again will divide people. So, if to you that is the central issue, that's the main challenge of life, not whether you are happy or unhappy, all that becomes secondary. whether you can get on with others, or whether your belief, your opinions are more important than other. All those are side issues which will be answered if this question is fully, deeply understood and answered. If you really feel that is the only challenge in life, seeing the actual facts around you and the actual fact inside yourself, how narrow, petty, small we are, anxious, guilty, fearful, hanging on to other people's ideas, opinions, judgments, worshipping public opinion, having heroes, examples. When you see all that in yourself actually, which breeds fragmentation, a division. If to you that is the only challenge, the challenge of freedom, and not because the speaker says so, but because you yourself have observed it, you yourself have seen very clearly when you examine the whole map of human existence. The nationalities, the wars, the division of gods and the priests and the ideologies, all that, the conflict, the misery, the sorrow. If this is the central issue for each one of us, and nothing else, because unless one is free, you cannot see what is truth. Unless there is complete freedom inwardly, love becomes a pleasure, pain. Unless there is complete inward sense of freedom, not given by another, not as an idea, not as a something to be aspired to, then there is no fear of death. See, if this is the central issue, then you and the speaker are in communion. You and the speaker can communicate with each other, whether it is at all possible. And we can then go into it, step by step. But if to you that is not the main interest, that's not the main challenge, but if you ask whether it's possible for human beings to find God, truth, love and all the rest of it, how can you find anything if you're not free?